Our body is actually built to sustain energy, strength, vitality, and have no pain. And I like to say, until we drop off the cliff.
The goal is to live long and then drop dead.
The best thing you can do is to advocate for your own health.
Yes.
If you are educated on how to use a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Strength Connection podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kurkowski. Thanks so much for joining me today. All right, this is one of the most fascinating conversations that I've had. Pamela Nygaard, she's the CEO and founder of Genexy Health, joins me on the podcast today to talk all about medical AI and the evolution of modern medicine. So Pamela shares how her experience with her grandmother at 14 years old started her asking the questions of centralizing all the modern medical information into one space for us to have access to. So this was a topic I was really unfamiliar with, and what Pamela is doing to bring technology and AI into the medical world is incredible. So with that, we're gonna get right to it. If you like this episode, you wanna show the podcast some love, please rate and review it wherever you're listening. And don't forget to subscribe. You can catch all new episodes that are dropped every single week. All right, guys, thank you so much. Now let's get on with the show. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Pamela, good to see you. How are you today?
Great to see you too. I'm doing fantastic. Thanks, and excited to be here. Appreciate it.
Same. I appreciate you. I appreciate you doing this. This is a really interesting topic that I have tried to get down into, but it just kind of goes over my head in so much. So I'm so pumped to have you on to explain all this stuff for us.
Oh, well, I'm not sure I'm an expert at it, but I learn a little bit more every single day. So happy to share.
It is. Well, I mean, artificial intelligence, it's so self-evident of a lot of things nowadays of where things are going in many different facets. And on the medical side, it's like, yeah, this is just as much a part of our culture as anything, which you have built up. And I'm sure, this has been a long journey of getting, Genexy Health and everything like that together. So we're going to see kind of where this rolls. So was this something that you saw like a while ago that you wanted to do? Like, how did this come about? I wanted to dive into this realm of the medical field.
Oh man, absolutely. So I've got kind of you know how sometimes in your life you see all the pieces come together and you realize, oh, this is why I'm on this planet, and how almost every major event led up to it. So I would say really the original genesis is when I was 14 years old, my grandmother was sent home to die. The doctors had done everything that they possibly could. She'd had surgeries and been treated with medications for decades. And they just said, there's nothing else we can do for you. This is it. And she was fairly young at the time. My grandfather, my dad, my uncle, just, at their wits' end, trying to find some other solutions, wound up finding a clinic in, of all places, Tijuana, Mexico. Now, mind you, this was decades ago. I won't give away my age quite yet. But this was
not really the medical hub of the world you think of is Tijuana.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, let's send grandma that way. That's a great idea. So they did, no, out of options entirely. So they flew down there. She had 1 week of treatment, and it was unique. It was very different from anything she'd ever done. She came back home an entirely different woman. Like, I have next to no memories of her because she was sleeping 23 hours a day. She could barely eat. She had Crohn's disease. She had hemophilia. She had, just a handful of digestive issues and problems. After she came back, I have all these memories of going for a walk on the golf course and, picking oranges and lemons off the grapefruit, off the trees in Arizona and making stuff and baking cookies with her. And I was like, what? That was so weird. Long story short, she lived another 16 years, no medicine, no surgeries, no medical interventions whatsoever. And that was kind of the first time that I was, as I got older and wound up in health insurance, i.e. in two of the biggest health insurance companies in our country, I was like, what did Tijuana know back then that people today need to know and are struggling to find out? And so that was really the impetus for me to start digging a little bit deeper and realizing that as good as our medical system is, there are so many solutions around the globe that we don't incorporate and encapsulate into our medical schools and into our typical Western medicine world. And that's why we call it Western medicine. It's usually either an intervention of drugs or surgery. And I just thought, well, gosh, what if we were raised in India? What if we were raised in China? What if we were from Europe? What other interventions or what other practical medicine could we expect? And wouldn't it be amazing if, since we are in such a global society and we all work across the globe and with other countries. What if we were to create a health plan or a tool, maybe something like WebMD, but that encapsulates all the solutions from around the globe? And that was kind of the original start, was just an e-second opinion is what we called it, esecondopinion.com. And it was just, let's get a different second opinion of, if I lived someplace else, what would the doctors recommend? Yeah. And then from there, we realized there's so much information out there. No one human being can possibly know, remember, diagnose, treat, and handle their patients fast enough, right? The medical studies, the medical textbooks, the different practitioners and the avenues that they can go down. And we just said, man, we just need an ability to dump medical journals. We have about 50,000 of them dumped in the system at this point. Wow. Medical textbooks that are taught in medical schools. Then from there, we are, as far as I know, the only company that incorporates air and water toxin reports, because we realized that environmental toxins actually are the #1 cause for chronic health conditions. And nobody is thinking about this.
Wow.
If you take
Wait, so air and water toxins, that's, you said that's the #1?
Yep. And it could also be food toxins. It can be things that are in our diet and but just our general surroundings. Something as simple as those that maybe are struggling with insulin resistance. It's because there's a very, very common toxin that binds to our insulin receptors, and they kind of get in there first and they block the receptor. So then when their insulin comes floating through the bloodstream, it can't attach and enter the cells anymore. And so we just said, gosh, if we could create a tool that had the ability to identify when that's happening and find out, oh, hey, by the way, that particular toxin is either in your lifestyle, it's in your environment, it's happening based on the symptoms that we know. The half-life of these toxins are incredibly short. Once you can remove them or stop introducing them to the body, they go away very quickly. And we have helped so many hundreds of people just reverse all their symptoms and get off of medications, because we're like, well, you just blocked up the insulin receptors, remove that toxin, and now the insulin flows freely, the body functions normally again, and they have no more needs for the medications.
Yeah. That's so fascinating. I love hearing stories like that about your grandmother. It's like those ones where you think like it is a certain way, this is what everybody's saying, and then all of a sudden 16 years later down the road, a lot different stuff. And it could be very easy to think that maybe the doctors or the medical field was ignorant on it because there's something else. But also at the same time, like you said, just there's so much information out there. And we're talking about medicine. I mean, we still don't know, like, the human brain, what exactly is going on up here. Right. A lot. It's like, I mean, after all this like research of stuff of going on, like there's still so much more that we don't know. It's kind of like you open up another door and there's another 1,000 that's in there, from there. So it is. I mean, it seems like it's just, there's so much information out there that we don't know. Like you only know what you know, like you don't know where to go. So having something like this, it seems like, okay, this is one hub that we can all have to put everything in at once to give us where we're at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. That really was our goal. I mean, and definitely we do not vilify physicians, doctors, or clinicians in any way. I mean, they are doing the best that they can. They've got all the pressures from the insurance companies and from their system, and they have a life and a family and a business. I mean, there's just so many factors. But truly, to your point about how does the brain work, there's cognitive bias. There's recency of understanding. So if they just learned something, or maybe just had a drug rep come in and say, hey, this is what our medication's meant to do, oftentimes that taints our human brain's ability to be like, well, let's try that. Maybe that's the answer. And, it's just the way that our brain is trained to try to understand our environment. And so our goal was to say, let's just take all that out. With a computer, there's just no bias. There's no, well, let's see, I've given that diagnosis 5 times and it's worked, so let's give it a 6th time. It's more, let's look at the root cause. Let's figure out all the factors that are going on, from lifestyle to where do they live, to what nationality are they, and really figure out what is driving some of these symptoms, or how do we create optimum health? And that is to me, that's my passion. That's what I love. I think we've sort of accepted, oh, I'm getting older, therefore I'm tired. Oh, I'm getting older,
Right.
therefore my back aches and my joint pains. It's normal. And I would love to denormalize that, because that's not the case. Our body is actually built to sustain energy, strength, vitality, and have no pain. And I like to say, until we drop off the cliff. And so
Right.
I think life should be like, okay, we peak out at, late 20s, and then we just sort of start this slow decline
Right.
and eventually slide into the grave, heavily medicated and exhausted. I want to live a life that it's like, okay, I'm still going up, and maybe I'll plateau around my 60s or 70s. And then one day I just cease to exist. I just stop breathing.
Yeah.
I'd much rather that sort of existence where, like, everyone says, oh, just fall asleep and not wake up. That's the way life should be, is that you live this amazing, vibrant, pain-free, very energetic life. And then one day your body's like, all right, we're done. We're out of here.
That's it. Yeah. The famous strength coach, Dan John, said, he's like, the goal is to live long and then drop dead.
Yes, exactly. And so that's what my passion is. Let me help people live passionately and feel great every day until you are not.
Yeah. It is. And it's like, I mean, the human error is just part of it, but also it's like that human bias, as you said, it can be so powerful in just how our mind can portray things. I remember just not too long ago, I had like a shoulder issue I do a lot of overhead stuff with kettlebells, and it was just pinching for a while. And I'm like, oh, everybody gives you their diagnosis. Oh, it could be this, it could be this. So everything's running through your head. Finally, I did get it checked out, saw that there was nothing there. As soon as I saw nothing was there, it was just like some inflammation.
Yes.
And it's like how powerful our mind is just to have that information and how work. And it kind of just goes, down that path. So, well, one thing I want to ask is like, I mean, it seems like we often say like the medical culture it's like a mess. It's like Western versus Eastern, or it's like the insurances play such a big thing with big money of it. Like, have you seen like, what is like, if you can like put all that together, what's the big thing like in the medical culture? Like, why do people say that?
Yeah, and this is having been a business manager inside of, like I said, two of the biggest insurance companies. And, I mean, they are corporate entities. They make fantastic money. They have shareholders that they are beholden to. And dare I say, just look at their stock prices over the last couple of years. It's shocking. And honestly, like I got stock options in one of my first companies. I bought my house with it, the stock options that I gained from it. And so, I mean, that is, their business model is geared towards their shareholders and running a corporate business. They are not focused on your health. That's not their job. That is not what they're paid to do. And I think that's what's surprising for a lot of people, is just to say they're not bad. It's just they are running a company. And once you understand what the company is about, you've got to expect that they're not looking out for the individual. They're there to raise prices and to, do what they're supposed to do. And the salaries are significant. The layers of management are significant. I would say, in my opinion, the best thing, and this is my message to the world, is the best thing you can do is to advocate for your own health.
Yes.
And I feel like for so long, and this is, this goes back hundreds of years ago, where the typical, and I'm, if we go back to like the typical farmer or someone in a cabin out in the woods, and they're just trying to raise their family, and they got a milking the cow, and they're raising their 10 kids. Like, you had sort of the grandma fixes, and that's kind of what I like to refer to them as, grandma's elixirs that maybe it worked, or maybe it was just luck of the draw. But, when they had to call
it's made with love.
Exactly. So when they had to call in a doctor for a house call, I mean, that's what they needed. Today, we have so many tools at our fingertips and so much access to knowledge that it's not hard to get it. What I found was the challenge is that everyone's got like the snake oil or the product that they're saying, gets up and dances and fixes everything from, it'll polish your toenails and make your hair grow, and then you'll be rich, as well as fix your heart disease. And you're like, wait a second, you can't do everything. And so really, I just wanted people, and when I say people, it started from my own need and my own desire, to get scientifically accurate information that was not product based, that is not like done by one particular doctor, but literally all the doctor's tools and everything that they had. And really, we've even had doctors that have said, I would love this. I mean, when patients come to me with pain in their body, they're like, I don't know if I should send them to an acupuncturist or chiropractor or physical therapy or just write them a script for pain meds and get them out of my office. And I'm like, that's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
I do some work with the Mayo Clinic, and incredible organization. I love the heart, and I love the way that they function is unique, different. And they have said of the patients that they get from around the planet, 84% of them either have the wrong diagnosis, the wrong treatment plan, or both. 84%. I know of someone that was had been treated for colon cancer for about 6 months. She was struggling, really, really, really close to not making it. Went to the Mayo Clinic and just said, gosh, why is this treatment not working? What can we do? Mayo Clinic ran some tests, and they just said, I hate to tell you this, but you never had colon cancer. Now, just imagine chemo, surgery, radiation, treatment, and the mental angst of, I have cancer, I'm going to die, and them coming back and saying, you never had it in the first place. Your diagnosis was wrong. Your treatment was wrong. And they switched it up within 3 weeks. She was completely back to herself, other than some of the residual damage that the chemo had done, regrowing hair, that sort of thing.
That's insane. How does that possibly happen in the day and age that we have right now? It's like, and like we said, like, I don't think it can't be a malice thing from a doctor, like of just like going, it's just, if it's just inundated with just information, if all these tests to know the information is too expensive, like what, like, how do those things possibly happen in the day and age now?
I choose to believe that it truly is honest mistakes. And it's just, I think it goes back to the fact that if you are educated on how to use a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so you're just going to bang on it until it goes away. And it's not wrong. It's just, hey, I know how to use this hammer. Watch me do it. And then you introduce that person to a drill and a screwdriver, and you're like, maybe you got to drill a hole first and then put a screw in it. And all of a sudden their world goes, oh, maybe it is. And now they start looking at it as, shall I use the hammer or shall I use the drill? And it's that education process. It's hard to get there. I mean, physicians today have, well over a decade of education and training and residency and ongoing continuing education credits, but there's just so much to know out there. And that's truly why we said, man, if we could maximize a computer's brain to assimilate all this knowledge, understand what really is going on in the body, how much faster, more reliable, how much quicker can we help an individual even get to the right physician? I mean, right now you have to start at your general practitioner, hope for a referral to somebody else, then they do another test and they do an assessment. So you're talking 2 more doctor's visits at least. Maybe they don't know what it is and refer you to someone else. I mean, it's just this huge long chain where I was talking with someone the other day and I said, well, run through our program, go through the Genexy assessment. We'll maybe even do a general wellness blood test, and then it'll help you get to the right doctor faster. And by the way, you don't have to go to a doctor, get permission for a blood test, and then follow up to find out what your blood tests mean. We tell you that. And not only that, your blood test comes back with not just the normalized ranges for those that are age 18 to 80, because that's really what kind of how they're built. We say, well, here's the normalized range, but for a 42-year-old male of certain descent, here's what your optimal ranges are. And that's the difference. So they know where that is. As an example, right now, vitamin D, normal ranges are somewhere between 30 and 80 is that number that they're targeting. The scientific studies prove that you can cut your diseases 4-fold if that number's over 50 milligrams. But normal is still above 30.
I was going to say, that seems like a really wide range to be considered normal. Like if you're 31 and you're 79, like that seems like you could have very differences in your health and your optimal performance.
Absolutely. Not to
Yeah.
mention the fact that, winter to summer, if you live up north or if you live down south and closer to the equator. Yeah, sir. And the fact that so much information's come out specifically even about vitamin D, the fact that it boosts your immune system, that it's an anti-aging, that it's antioxidant, that has all these things for your body. And we still have this super broad range and this you should probably work on vitamin D.
Yeah.
So many areas that it can impact of health. So
Yeah.
that's a big one that we go, let's help people get to that. And honestly, most doctors still do not even test vitamin D levels.
Yeah. It's, what I love about this is you said a couple things there. One is advocating for your own health. I think that's the most beautiful, self-evident cliche we can keep going over and over again of having, but having what I like about this is there's a centralized hub of just putting everybody in the same room of all right, let's get this information down. So, which avenues to take. What really brought me into the fitness world was functional movement, and I got into the FMS systems, which I loved. And there's a lot of other assessments out there. There's some really great ones. What I liked about that is because it just gave all right, whether you're an 18-year-old athlete or you're a 70-year-old who's just getting started, we can do this same test to give you just a little bit of a score, 1, 2, or 3. Everybody's going to be a little bit more individualized and you still have to put some human work into it. But at least no matter what level you're at, everything can make sense of, okay, this is where we are. This is where you want to go. This is exactly where we are. And I think that's one of the things that we miss a lot in our overall health is we all know where we want to go, right?
Yeah.
We want to be optimal. We all know point B, but actually finding that point A of exactly where you're at in the moment so you can bridge that gap into, all right, this is the work that I need to do. That's where, it could be very different if you have a doctor who's gone through this in Seattle versus one in New York. It's you can get very different answers, based on that. And this is kind of just that centralized hub. That's why I love this so much. Cause I want to go into the process and the assessment of this a bit, Pamela. So if you get into this, how does this process work from the beginning?
You bet. And in fact, I'm going to kind of piggyback on what you said a moment ago about I think most people, it's similar to driving that, most people say oh, I'm an above average driver. You're like, well, not everyone can be above average, right? Someone sets that average. It's the same thing with health, actually. The studies have been done time and time again to prove that majority of people say, oh yeah, I'm healthy, I eat healthy, I have a great lifestyle, etc. And yet, 65% or more of the population have a chronic disease. So clearly, there's something going awry that's either impacting them or not allowing them to live a disease-free life or optimal health. So the first thing that Genexy Health that we created was a health score, because you don't have something to look at, something to target. Otherwise, you're just well, I feel good today, and then maybe tomorrow you're like, do I feel better or worse? It's super subjective.
Sure.
But what we do first off is let's just give you a health score so you have a starting point, so you know where you're at. And then every time you log back in again, so we recommend check it after 30 days if you're making active changes, or check in quarterly if you're just kind of okay, how am I doing? Did my pain threshold go up? Did I develop something that's going wrong? And we also give you the ability to check your blood work. So you're like, hey, if you're targeting your cholesterol, your A1C, great, $20. You can just go get it checked. We'll, upload it to the system.
Oh, cool. So there's an a la carte aspect that you can do a bit.
Yep.
Okay.
There sure is. Because we want you to be able, again, to advocate for yourself. You can only do that if you are able to monitor your own systems and be able to see how's my blood pressure today? I mean, how's my cholesterol? How's my blood sugars? And for those that are actively either on a diet or lifestyle changing, it's helpful to know how are you doing. So we want to give people those tools and be able to do that. So checking the health score, I think, is really helpful because we are very empowering. Enrolling in Genexy is so easy. You can go online, register. We try to make it as inexpensive as possible. I think right now we're running a special where it is $99 for access for an entire year, which is incredible. And we'll make sure that you have the link so that your listeners can go check it out. Otherwise, it's usually anywhere between 120 and 150 per year. And so basically you log in, you're emailed a link immediately, and you can go in and start start the assessment. So first off, we introduce you to our Total Care program, and Total is our acronym for take the assessment. I have to think about what O is. I forgot for a second. Order your supplements and see what is necessary, and I'll circle back to that. Take a look at your blood test and your kind of see how the systems are running. If you want to do a DNA test, we can upload that as well. The system does have, I think we're up over 250 SNPs. So we are looking at your genetic DNA and your genetic material. We are also, by the way, looking at any new pharmaceutical medications that you're currently taking. I'll circle back on that as well. We are not going to tell anyone, we're not a diagnostic tool. We will not tell you what you have. We're not going to diagnose what ailment it might be. Our only goal is to help you find the root cause for any symptoms, any issues that you have, and provide a treatment plan. So to me, I understand that there's a little bit of a relief to figure out what name is associated with whatever ailment is happening.
Sure. Yeah. We want answers. Yeah. We want to label it.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes we just want that label and we'll go, okay, I feel better. But to your example about your shoulder earlier, sometimes you just go, oh, it's just inflammation and I can fix that. And that's easier. And so our goal is to say, let's help you find the functional treatment, the fix for it. If we go, oh, you're having some inflammation, great. The fix for that is these 3 things will help bring down inflammation, will help in the meantime. So that's our goal, is to provide that treatment plan. So once a member has logged in, the first screen that you have is we need to know age, gender, what you're accomplishing right now. And then nationality, because that makes a huge difference. It is amazing if you get, different people, different skin tones, different nationalities. It really does impact nutrient needs inside the body and how it metabolizes. And then we're going to ask for zip code, and the tool is automatically going to start checking all the air and water quality reports. And then from there, we're just going to dig into, tell us about your lifestyle, what diet plan do you eat, how often do you have alcohol, what type of foods do you prefer, what lifestyle as far as exercise, are you doing weight training, flexibility, or cardio? And then what sort of symptoms do you have? Right. And what's really cool, I love this aspect. So we try to shorten it as quick as possible, right? If someone's fairly healthy, they're going to go through, no issues. We're good. I just want to figure out, how do I maximize my health and really optimize it? For other folks, they're like, well, yeah, I do have some asthma issues, or maybe I have lower back pain. Then those folks are going to get what we call a pop-up box. It's actually where our Health Genie, so Genexy employs a Health Genie to come and help. And that Health Genie will go, wait. Tell us a little bit more about that. Okay. And it is so intriguing when we were doing beta testing and looking over people's shoulder, and they would click a yes, and this extra box of questions will pop up, anywhere between probably 3 to 8 questions. And it would be like, okay, so does your pain get worse with movement, or does it get better? And just these really bizarre things. Like, I was standing over my mom's shoulder one day, and she was going through one of our testing, and she clicked a yes on something in a pop-up box, and it said, do you bite the inside of your cheek? She was like, how did it know? How did it know that? And she was like, as a matter of fact, I do. And it was just fascinating to see that is a symptom that helps drive the Health Genie, if you will, or the AI tool, to figure out that root cause. So, I mean, something as simple as an answer, I'll give for some of your listeners, it might be really helpful. We get a lot of folks that suffer from migraine headaches. My sister, right? Yeah. Migraines are debilitating. They're brutal. And it is really, that was one of my drivers to build them. She was getting knocked out about 3 to 4 days a week. And it was certainly already, destroyed her social life, starting to impact her professional life. And she is a hard charging woman and was just like battling this on a weekly basis. And so the tool basically, it was like, do you have migraine headaches? You click yes, and it says, great. It doesn't ask if you have allergies. It says, what are you allergic to? And it knows that migraines are most often triggered, like there's also an allergy in the body. what was more fascinating than that is depending on what your allergies are triggered by, completely changed the way to treat it. And again, I look at Western medicine, we're like, oh, you have migraine headaches? Great. Here's the medication for that.
Right. Yep.
And our tool says, what are you allergic to? Is it strawberries? Is it grass? Is it gluten? Or is it mold? 4 very different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone in and I've played with this, so many different ways because I'm curious and I'm always like, well, what's the difference? What happened? And something where, as an example, and this is not meant to be diagnostic, but to let people know, like, dig into the tool and you'll find some of this cool stuff out. For someone who says, such as my sister who has a gluten allergy, the tool said, oh, you probably need to supplement with magnesium. And magnesium just changed her world. Well, then we started digging into like, well, which kind of magnesium and what's the best way to get it in the body?
It keeps going down the rabbit hole. Yep. More and more.
Exactly. And again, we look at these poor physicians that have, 7 to 12 minutes in the office with you. There's no way they can get into all of this. Yeah. And so, how delightful to have a tool that just says, okay, let's walk you down this path. Let's figure that out. Mm-hmm. Conversely, if someone's like, oh, I'm allergic to strawberries, there's an herb called butterbur that is effective. So not a nutrient deficiency at all. It's an herb that is way more beneficial for those with an allergy. And I was like, no idea. And talk about the level of complexity that any human would have to try to figure all these pathways out. But the tool, we just have the ability to go, let's get to that right answer as quick as possible.
Right. This is so fascinating. Has it been a struggle at all of getting past like the human error on it because some people, like you said, like if you ask me like what I'm allergic to right now, like I know a couple of things, but I might even have some more in there. Like sometimes, and I'm sure people, they don't lie, but you just sometimes just don't, like you forget, like you don't know these certain things, like biting the cheek, like that might be a one that you remember right there. Yeah. But it's like so many of these other little things with these pop-ups can pop up. Has that been a struggle at all of kind of navigating and getting around that part?
It has. I love my dad to pieces, but I'm going to pick on him. So in beta testing, watching over his shoulder, he's going through, no, I'm healthy. I'm like, Dad, you can barely get out of bed in the morning because your joints are painful in the morning. And then throughout the day, they loosen up. Oh, is that what this is asking? Yeah. When it asks, do you have joint pain? Yeah, that's what it's asking. And, he's like, oh yeah, I don't have any blood sugar issues. I'm like, your doctor is recommending that you go on a medication for diabetes, pre-diabetes. Yeah. You have a blood sugar issue. Oh, okay. So yeah, there's a bit of that. And we're actually probably in the next iteration, which we're always trying to make this better and adding some cool features as we go along, but we're going to try to make it a little bit easier and explanatory. So right now, someone can click on the question and it explains what are we asking. It also will say, like kind of the median in the US, it'll say, well, 34% of the population struggle with this. Not to say like, that's more or less likely, but just kind of give some information around. So every single question, someone will say, well, gosh, I don't know what rheumatoid arthritis is. You can click on the word and we have a definition of like, this is what rheumatoid is versus other forms of arthritis. So we definitely have kind of some specificity to try to help people through that. But the other thing that we have is we have access to not only nutrient testing, but food sensitivity testing. So again, so many people say, well, gosh, I'm pretty sure I have a food allergy, but I'm just not sure what it is. I have dear friends that wound up with a debilitating, like nearly life-threatening shellfish allergy. But the weird part is it would show up 4 days after they had shellfish. So the ability to connect the dots and figure out that was a problem was nearly impossible. It was just unreal. And so much easier to just go, let's just do a food sensitivity test. And we've got like 4 different ranges. One is sort of the down and dirty, let's check 100 different foods. And then you can dig it deeper to like, well, which nut is it? Is it, is it all tree? You can kind of next year be all tree nuts. And then you go, all right, almonds, cashews, pistachios, which nut is it? Right. So we have different versions of food sensitivity testing. And then also just micronutrient testing to say, is your body depleted? Is it struggling? Is it maybe not assimilating in one area? Great example, our lead scientific physician, who was one of the incredible founding fathers of Vassar University, which is one of the largest naturopathic schools in our nation. His wife had lost nearly every female family member due to osteoporosis and other complications. So at the age of, I think, 34, when she started to develop bone loss and becoming a little bit more brittle, she was like, man, I got to get ahead of this and find out what the problem is. Find out, she does a DNA test, finds out that there are basically 4 DNA SNPs that regulate your vitamin D uptake and your amount in your body. All 4 of those DNA receptors were turned off.
Wow.
And so her body basically could not absorb and properly use vitamin D. And so she has to supplement with literally 4 times what would be a normal amount. She has not only rebuilt her bone, but now coaches and trains other people how to rebuild their bones in order to live a strong life and a really, really, really good, bone health is so imperative, especially for women. And I can't even tell you how many people kind of struggle with brittle bone or lack of density. And, just something as simple as, for whatever reason, her family's genetics was they did not absorb vitamin D. Right. The good news is, once you know that, fix it, reverse it, and move forward.
Wow. That's so fast. It's amazing that these chronic, diseases, these chronic issues that we face a lot, and it seems like it could be these huge astronomical issues going on, when in reality, oftentimes, as you said, it could be, air or water toxins that's going on, of just eliminating those, or just magnesium or vitamin D. I have a hilarious story about magnesium. I think I told you this. We were talking the other day. We had a guy who come in and sold magnesium on it, and pretty much it could cure anything ever, including a broken heart, everything like that. It was a hilarious type thing, but I'll digress on it. But it is. So, I mean, just
right though. That's what I think most people go online to try to find health solutions, and they stumble across these products that are guaranteed to fix everything. And you're going, come on.
Yeah. Well, it is. And I mean, some of them, they might have some merit to them, but if you don't have this information beforehand, then it's kind of like you're just, you're winking in the dark. It's like you're just kind of just shooting around, you have no idea what you're exactly aiming for. So maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but just getting the information and just having that down is huge. So after you do the assessment and it gives you okay, this is what's going on here. You said you can go to supplementation. Do you have is the next step, do you have doctors that you work with this to go, now you can take this report and go see your doctor and they'll help you with that? Is that part of the process yet? Or is that something you've thought of?
You are reading my mind. I love it. You're so good. It's interesting. So we had the tool. And so my primary focus, because I worked for the insurance companies, was to go direct to employers and help benefit employees. So many small businesses, medium-sized businesses are just crumpling under the weight and the cost of healthcare. I was like, gosh, if we could just help employees be healthier, I think America could compete better. I think we'd heal marriages. We could help children raise up in a more vibrant and optimal lifestyle. It just helps everything downstream. So that was my target. What we found is that as great as technology is, and as much as people Google to look for answers, they still really want somebody to talk to say, hey, I was told that I have an environmental toxin and that I should probably not drink water out of plastic bottles. Do you think that's right? And it's just funny, because I'm the same way. I want someone else to go, yeah.
You want that confirmation bias. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So we realized how important that was, that to make sure that somebody has access to an individual who is either just trained slightly different or has a different understanding. So we started a training program for coaches, physicians, clinicians, to be able to, that we can then plug them into on the other side. So we go to these major corporations, we'll, bring in a couple thousand people. And we know that at any given time, a large percentage of those people will go through the assessment and then go, okay, I want to talk to somebody. And we know that if they take it to the doctor's like, sure, you could try it. Or, we've also had the flip side where no, it doesn't matter what you eat or how you live. You're still going to have issues. Please,
yeah.
please don't go to that doctor. Don't do that one. And so it's hard to help people challenge their family physician or someone that they've gone to in a position of authority. And we know that they want somebody that understands environmental toxins. Like nobody talks about what a huge impact this is, from phthalates to PCBs to, all the issues in our food, natural flavorings. That is actually a code word trademark phrase. That means the company can put whatever inside of that food and they don't have to disclose it. There's a frightening one. And so, yeah, we want coaches that are educated and trained and understand the impact, and have the ability then that we can take all of our members and say, would you like to speak to somebody that is a trained and certified coach that understands health issues, that knows about nutrition, and is able to go through this list and say, okay, yeah, let's start taking baby steps to figure out how can we help you. And I mean, a lot of times we'll get people that'll drop probably 15, 20 pounds completely effortlessly because they're able to pull some of the toxins out, the things that their body was responding to. Or just, lose several inches off their waist because that midsection body fat is either caused by hormonal or toxins or lifestyle. And, you just identify which one of those three, and they start to lose inches, and all of a sudden they think that coach is a hero.
Yeah.
And that's what we want. We want to help coaches and other people succeed, and having the right tools that are scientifically accurate, I think is the way to go. And honestly, I have a nutrition coaching certification myself. And this tool is what I wanted when I graduated. I was like, where was this? This is what I wanted to have.
100%. I mean, because the nutrition world is so, it's insane to try and understand everything that's going on. Like, we still know so little about what's going on with nutrition and how to actually read research in the right way. And it's like, and if this one says something, like, you need to find another 5 or 6 that say a similar thing and actually know how to dissect it, down. There's a few that I follow that do it phenomenally, but it's like that world is just so insane because you find the right thing that feels good for you. Then all of a sudden there's zealots out there that just go so deep down that hole when it's like, now again, it's, if you have this information, you just know, okay, this is how to optimize this, how to start with rich soil before you plant the seeds in there. And then you build it up. Again, there's always going to be people that are going to, push back on it, and you want that confirmation of it. But overall, like, just the necessity of having, this is where I think technology and AI and this stuff is so powerful, and it's such a resource for our world, is because there's no one person that can know 50,000, textbooks, in the blink of an eye and know exactly, how to navigate this down. Have you got any pushback from any of the medical field at all? Like, when you've introduced this, I'm sure there's some dinosaurs that are probably trying to hold on to their strong roots.
Oh yeah. Honestly, in the very, very early days, we go to Western medicine doctors, not to pick on them, but, go to them and say, hey, I know you didn't have a lot of nutrition education. I know you didn't have a lot of classes about general physiology and what nutrients might be missing in order to create this outcome. How would you like to have a tool? You could just pull an iPad out in your office and do this. Now, mind you, iPads in their office are a little bit more common today. It wasn't so much, probably 5 to 10 years ago. And the comment was, well, no. I'm the smartest person in the room. I don't want my patients to think otherwise. There's no way I would bring something else into that dialogue. And then we go to maybe like naturopaths in particular and say, hey, how about this tool to help you get to the answer faster and avoid cognitive bias? It'll assimilate your toxins, and it'll figure out what nutrients are missing. And they go, oh my gosh, don't tell anybody you've got this. It'll totally put us out of business. Like, wrong approach. Think of it. More than enough population on the planet. There's more than enough people. Like, and I am such a collaborative person. I'm like, oh, the more the people we can bring on, the better. The more people we can help and impact, the better. And so that's my goal, is to say, no, let's bring the right folks in and help people get to the right answer faster so that they can not struggle. We've got just really an incredible testimony. I'm digressing away from the pushback we got, because I'm like, and we do get much less of that today. More and more Western medicine doctors like, oh, thank goodness. Like, now I know what type of person to refer them to, what sort of things might be causing it. So we're getting a lot more traction. Frankly, integrative and functional medicine doctors are loving this, and we love partnering with them. It's been so beneficial. And then coaches that are really trying to do the right thing for their clientele. A lot of people love this. They're like, man, this just put me in like the super cool world. And I can really impact people by saying, oh yeah, as an athlete, maybe, sometimes it does burn up your magnesium faster, or, how can we reduce that lactic acid or the inflammation? Oh, here's an easy way to do that. So certainly we love being able to partner with the right people and saying, let's give you those tools that you need.
Right.
So it's been a lot of fun. And I would say the world is changing rapidly, and people are understanding that this needs to happen and that more and more people need access to this tool.
100. Yeah. I mean, I think if you're coming from that mindset of like getting put out of business, I mean, it's just a scarcity mindset. It's as old as the day is long. There's billions of people in here. I've seen that in the coaching world 1.5 million times. Is you try and hold on to your, client. They can't do anything without me. Like I'm the one. And if I lose, it's like, no, it's like, I want to try and get the fastest information, the best information as quickly as possible, to people out. That's why I have this podcast. I can speak to people like you who are doing these things because I have no idea about it. And I know it's out there, so you can kind of understand it a little bit more of getting in. So, I mean, you've been working on this now for a long time. I'm sure you've seen a lot of evolutions of it going forward. Like, where is there more stuff that you want to fine tune and continuously work with on it?
Yeah, there definitely is. So as an example, one of the things that I'd like to do is get the toxin report kind of updated if we can. So right now we rely on other organizations to do third-party non-biased testing. But I mean, obviously they can't test constantly around the planet all the time. And so it would be lovely to be able to get that updated either, weekly or daily, especially when you look at the train derailments and the toxic plumes and the fires. Yeah. I think it'll definitely make a difference. I tell you though, some really cutting edge stuff that we're working on right now that I imagine people like you who are very cutting edge and looking at what's coming down the pike. So our tool has the ability to spit out physician level exact milligrams of what someone would need in order to supplement. So, a lot of people I know, they'll have like 14 bottles sitting on the countertop, and it's take 2 of these pills and 8 of these and 4 of these, and that's your morning regime. And then at noon, and then at dinner, and it's a lot of money. It's a lot of thought process. It's a lot of, it's a challenge.
It's a lot of time. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And so what we're working on right now is to be able to spit out the exact milligrams. And we're working with a manufacturer that can create the pill or pills that are specially formulated for you. So it says, as this specific age, nationality, based on where you live and your lifestyle. And we know that maybe you're struggling with these two or 3 items. So we'll supplement a little bit higher with these nutrients, and maybe even throw in that herbal that we know is going to benefit you. Your daily vitamin, if you will, is formulated for you. So you have 1 bottle sitting on the counter, and you get to take, 2 pills out of that a day, and you've got your entire supplementation taken care of. We're also making that available in powder form because people are like, I don't want to swallow pills. Sure. Right. Throw it in your morning smoothie. Throw it in your morning coffee. Just, whatever you're drinking on the way to work, or whatever your morning, schedule is, incorporate into that. We're also going in that a step further, looking at nutraceuticals so that we can kind of take that even a step further. And then there's some, I'm under an NDA, I can't really talk about it, but there's ways that we are incorporating it that makes it even more fun and absorbable by the body faster, because we know that many nutrients get broken down in the stomach acid fairly quickly. That's honestly to kind of pick on vitamin, or to pick on magnesium. Sure. It gets broken down in the body's digestive system very quickly. That's why supplementing with magnesium is not as effective. And most people don't realize that. This through the skin is the better way to absorb magnesium. But oftentimes it gets kind of itchy, or they don't like the feeling on their skin. So, there's just all sorts of ways that we are trying to figure out, like, well, this nutrient gets absorbed this way. How can we provide a delivery system that's easy and fun for people, but gets them what they need?
Mm.
So there are some new things coming down the pike that's just it's gonna open this up and just make it even more enjoyable. So the days of like, how many pills do I have to pop,
Yeah.
are hopefully going to be behind us fairly soon, and you can have a lot more
Yeah.
options to make sure you're getting the nutrients and live the optimal life
Mhm.
without having 12 bottles on the counter and spending, $400 or $500 just on supplements.
Sure. Yeah, it's so interesting, and I'm so happy that this is out there because I mean I've seen things like I've worked with like artificial intelligence, like with ChatGPT and stuff like that, and seeing
Yeah,
the gene. And I mean, it's great, like productivity wise, it's huge,
yeah,
and it's only going to get better and better. But actually improving people's health through this and
yeah,
actually making us like a stronger and better society on it. I mean, that's really a change. Like you said, like somebody who loses like 10 or 15 pounds of inflammation, they optimize their levels, they start to feel better. Like that impacts across time. That impacts them, that impacts their family, that impacts every single person they encounter. And it's like, and when you actually like do this and you actually advocate for yourself and it works and you get your own buy-in, that
Hmm.
just opens the door into so many other things. So I love that I mean, not only that you've built it to where it is, but that you're consistently looking at the next levels of getting this out. So I'm sure it's only going to
Absolutely.
keep getting better and better from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say like our previous one was the pharmaceutical integration, and that was
Mhm.
taking what do we incorporate? We've got about 4,000 medications in the system.
Mhm.
It's literally impossible to get every medication out there, and with the amount of new drugs that are coming out into the market, like we just couldn't do them all. So we were like, all right, let's take the most common and the most, I don't hate to say the most popular, but the most popular drugs, put them in the system. And what we're looking for, again, we'll never tell someone to stop taking their medication. That's not our goal. But we'll say, hey, we know what these side effects are created from. And usually it's because that medication needs either it's going to pull some calcium or it's going to pull some serotonin in order to do what it needs to do in the body. And the side effects are usually caused by that medication depleting other parts of the body. So, as an example, if it is pulling from calcium, it's going to create an imbalance in the vitamin D, magnesium, calcium mixture that has to
Mm.
be in balance in your body. And so we know that gets thrown off. We know your body gets a little bit more acidic. With acidity, you're going to get a little bit more muscle fatigue. You're going to get joint pain. You're going to get inflammation, and you just see all the downstream effects. If we can nip that in the bud, and that's our goal, is to say, from a physiological perspective, we know that if you supplement with this, you can avoid some of those side effects.
Yeah.
And I mean, just to be able to help someone do that, we had a major executive on the East Coast run through our program. And he, not all that old, I want to say either late 30s or early 40s. And to look at him, you're like, oh, picture of health. Like, oh, this guy's not going to benefit. That's cool. I appreciate him running it. And he wrote this incredible testimonial, and he said, listen, you know what? I just accepted I was getting older. I had two elementary school age and middle school age children. And he's like, it was all I could do to we'd eat dinner. We'd all pop down on the couch. We wouldn't do anything and then fall into bed. Couldn't wait to put the kids to bed. And my wife and I would just fall in, and we're just exhausted every day. He said, I ran through the program, did just your general wellness test, which it's about a $600 to $800 value of blood test. We checked it against most of the insurance companies. We brought that price down under $200, and we are looking at vitamin D, B12, magnesium. We're looking at A1C. We're looking at your heart function, the APO, A and B, which is the most indicative of heart disease. It's incredible. Not many people check that. GGT. So we put these tests together for this gentleman, and he wrote back and he goes, it came back and said that I was it iron deficient? He said I was anemic. And for males, it's a little more uncommon than
Right.
for men. And so he's like, all right, well, that's weird. Guess I'll try this. And
Mhm.
so he started supplementing with iron. He said within 3 days, I got my life back. He said, you don't understand. After dinner, the kids and I go for a bike ride around the block now. We go up to the park and play on the weekends. He said, I thought that was it. That was my life. I just, get more and more tired. And then eventually I die. And he goes, the whole family has an entirely different relationship. And he said, not to mention the fact that his commissions went up at work because of his connectivity, his productivity, and the way he felt at the office. It just changed everything. And I was like, that's the information we get back every day. The testimonials,
Mhm.
just one little change of, I thought I was either depressed or was just bound for a life of fatigue and exhaustion. And that's the biggest thing we get. It's usually either driven by lack of vitamin D, iron, or B12. But the question is which one?
Yeah.
And you're just throwing darts, you could, create some other issues.
Right.
So just something is restoring energy and removing the brain fog and getting people's memory back on track. They go, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm early 20s again.
Yeah.
That's
amazing. It's amazing how easily we can fall into thinking that this is the way it is. And you're maybe 2 or 3 days away from feeling so much better. That's freaking awesome. Pamela, this time has gone way too fast. I would love to invite you. Yeah, I would love to invite you back to dive into more. I want to go over even more of these toxins at another time. So we'd have to do a part 2 on this. But if people are, interested, they want to check this out, go see what Genexy is all about, where can we direct them?
You know what? I will give you and your listeners a specific login page and a coupon code to make sure that they get that discounted rate. Especially now that I've said it on air, I'm sure someone will listen to this way after April and they're like, wait, I want that $99 special. So I'll give you a special link, but you can go check out information on genexyhealth.com. And then for all your folks, we'll make sure that you guys get a special discount.
Oh, thank you so much. And we'll put that right in the show notes. So I really appreciate that.
Great.
Thank you so much for your time. Until next time, this has been amazing. Listeners, this is the future right here. You got to listen to this. This is where we're going. And I'll talk to you guys on the next one. All right. Peace. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found some great value here. And if you like this episode, please drop a comment and leave us a 5-star rating and review. It does more to build the show than you can imagine. And do not forget to check out and join the Strength Connection Facebook group. In this group, I share the biggest takeaways and lessons from these amazing conversations, as well as training and strength tips for pursuing mastery and fulfillment in life. This group is filled with individuals looking to take full control over their strength, and it's the perfect space to explore new ideas and to share your journey. And you'll also get exclusive access to these Strength Connection Mastery Seminars. It's a deep dive into the physical, mental, and spiritual training that you can begin using immediately. So do not wait, go now. Seriously, go. All right, much love to you. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you on the next one.